Nidus Breachcast, the world's first identity management app made exclusively for identity experts and product owners, is available in the iOS App Store now.
Nidus Anarchy series, I am here with Riley Hughes from Trinsic. You spoke today or
yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yes.
So let the audience know a little bit about what you spoke with regarding your company, Trinsic.
Yeah, so Trinsic is here. What we do is we help companies verify users 10 times faster using digital IDs. Right, so the standard identity verification today involves taking a photograph of a physical ID card, taking a selfie, matching it up, and verifying a user's identity based on their physical government ID, right? A lot of you have probably done this. A lot of you have probably done it repeatedly over your life, right? And it turns out there are millions of people who have digital IDs. And if you have a digital ID, it means you've already been verified. You've already gone through a rigorous process to be onboarded into this digital ID. And by digital ID, I mean like a mobile driver's license, for example. And if you have one of these, it's really fast and easy to present it to prove who you are. So what we're trying to do is enable companies to, again, verify their users faster with less fraud using these digital IDs like mobile driver's licenses and government-issued EIDs.
So do you think, because I've asked some vendors this, do you think everything is going completely digital? I'm no longer going to have a physical driver's license?
I think we're a long ways off from that.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
too.
I mean, I think like we're so far off from it that like it's almost just too speculative to even say that. So what I'll say is no. I think like for the conceivable future, right, there will always be physical and digital options. But I do think rapidly we will have both physical and digital options, right? Whereas 5 years ago, there was no digital option, right?
Well,
which is kind of bonkers, right? Like we're sending people to outer space, we're editing genes, we have self-driving cars, AI can write better blog posts than I can, right? Like science and technology is unbelievable, and yet we're like photographing physical plastic cards to like prove who we are on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, we don't photograph handwritten notes to send messages online. We have digitally native ways of sending messages, of making payments, doing all these kinds of things. But identity is still completely, paper-based, at least until the last few years, where mobile driver's licenses and digital IDs have started to really take off. So that's what we're here talking about is really, the adoption of different kinds of digital IDs and how companies can use those to streamline their identity verification.
Well, one thing I could say in terms of everything going digital with that is that I'm in New York, so I go to a lot of sports games, Mets games, concert events, which I'm sure you do too. There's many times where you don't even have a physical option, which is kind of crazy because you are forced to have a cell phone with a digital ticket to get into events where it used to be you could have a physical ticket. Many venues don't even have that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's indicative of where the world is going for sure. The challenge is dealing with fraud in those scenarios, right? Especially when you're dealing with things that are really sensitive, like a KYC process or know your customer process in financial institutions. When you're withdrawing, $10,000 or you're wiring, $50,000 or something like that. When these are high stakes transactions, if you're going to rely only on digital, you need to make sure that it is sort of the right kind of digital, right? I guess another way of saying this is there's a reason that mobile driver's licenses are only just now starting to happen. They're not easy, right? It's hard to make these things work properly. But now we can, and mobile driver's licenses now are more secure. They're faster to present. There's less fraud than you get with a physical one. So, I mean, of course, there's a digital divide in the sense that you need like a smartphone, right? You need to, internet access, right? You need some of these things to get it and make it useful.
Yeah.
But that's just the way the world is moving.
One of the craziest things with identity verification is, having to have a physical copy of your original birth certificate, having to have a physical social security ID with your number on it, which you can never change, and which recently all of ours have been breached.
Yeah.
And this is like a really primitive form of verifying your identity. And it needs to change.
Yeah, it does. I mean, identity, an identity is only as strong as the sort of inputs used into creating it, right? So a driver's license is essentially, a token that represents the proofing and the verification that the DMV did on you to obtain the driver's license, right? So this one card, driver's license, is like a proxy for driver's or birth certificate, social security number, in-person selfie, etc. And as we sort of abstract that further, it just gets harder and harder. So, this is sort of what we solve at Trinsic, right? Is there's a lot of different forms of digital ID. It's hard to know what to trust. It's hard to know what were the inputs that went into each of those things, and that's sort of part of what we try to solve.
Awesome. Have you been impressed by anything in particular these past couple of days here at Identity Week?
Yeah, it seems like every conversation comes back to, because they're so new and people are so interested in them, it seems like so many of the sessions are talking about mobile driver's licenses, digital IDs, mobile wallets, things like that.
Absolutely.
So, and it's been pretty remarkable to see the breadth of companies that are talking about it, right? You have big banks, Fortune 500 companies, some of the largest identity vendors out there, all leaning in this direction. And so everybody's talking about it. Not too many people know how to make it useful today, which is kind of the unique angle that we're bringing into the conversation. So yeah, it's been a really good show for us.
Excellent. And how can more people learn about Trinsic and find out more about your company?
Yeah, well, you can find us at trinsic.id. My name is Riley Hughes. I like to talk about digital IDs on LinkedIn and X. And I have a podcast as well.
Oh, excellent. Well, plug it. Plug everything.
Yeah, it's called The Future of Identity. And on the Future of Identity podcast, every 2 weeks, we share an episode about a digital identity ecosystem that is being adopted in some part of the world, right? So the episode that we're dropping this week is one with the creators of the Louisiana mobile driver's license, and we dive deep into the specific use cases that drove adoption of the Louisiana digital driver's license, as well as the adoption rates, how often people use them, that sort of thing. So check it out if it's a topic that's interesting to you.
Excellent. Check out their podcast. Check out the website. Great speaking with you.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you taking the time.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Nidus has just created the first iOS app made exclusively for identity management professionals. It's called Nidus Breachcast, and you can download it now. It's amazing. We have real-time updates of all the latest breaches that are occurring, CVEs as they come out real-time, really pertaining just to identity management. We have media that's going on this podcast. We're going to be bringing in a lot more others as well. And we even have a complete vendor list of all the identity management vendors and all their products, so you can find out exactly where to download their software, all the documentation. And what's even more awesome is an identity management glossary. All those crazy words and acronyms that we can never remember, they're all listed in there for you. No ads, just pure information to make your life simple.